Jeffrey DeSuze. I am from the Office of Campus Life, and we'd like to welcome you to another installment, our 6th installment of Inside the Faculty Studio. For those of you who may not know what Inside the Faculty Studio is, it's this great program that we've started here in our office in which we have fantastic in-depth conversations with faculty members from all over the campus. Now, the faculty members have been chosen by our students, so we've put the question out, the APB out on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and said, who do you want to see, who do you want to hear from? And we've had some great professors from our education department, from our history department, from our women and gender studies department, from our history department, so all over the campus. Today we have a special guest. It is Women's History Month, right? So shout out to Women's History Month. And so we have a special guest today as our latest member of our Inside the Faculty Studio. We have Dr. Sue Henderson. Let's give our Dr. Sue Henderson, President of NJCU, the first woman president of NJCU. So that's fantastic in and of itself, I might say, if I do say so myself. So just to let you all know, we do have, how this format works for those of you who may not know, it's based off of the television program titled Inside the Actor Studio. So where we have these great questions that are in-depth, but a little bit about not just the career and the things that are happening on a day-to-day, but a little bit more about our guests and something that we may not know. We're going to ask some really fun questions. Hopefully you're ready for them, Doc. All right, and so I pull out my trusty, oh, there it is. I pull out my trusty index cards. Yes, we have a question already.
Yes. Will we get to ask questions?
All right, so, yes, I'm happy that you got to ask. There is a basket somewhere. I think someone has our basket with some index cards that you can submit some questions. You can ask us those questions. And what we'll be able to do is we'll read your questions. Also, just to let you know, we are on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. We want you to submit questions via social media as well. So if you submit a question on Twitter, if we select your question from one of the questions that we picked on Twitter, then you also will win a prize. We're giving away prizes today too, ladies and gentlemen. Not just having a great interview. We're also giving away some prizes. So make sure that you follow us or ask us a question at NJCU Campus Life. At NJCU Campus Life on Twitter. If your question gets selected, you'll be able to be eligible to win a prize, or you win a prize if your question gets selected. So are we ready?
Yeah.
All right, we are ready. Dr. Henderson, are you ready?
I am.
That's it. All right, let's get this party started. We're just going to go right into the first question. Let's start with the beginning. Dr. Henderson, where were you born?
That's a very good question. So I was born in a small town in East Tennessee called Rockwood, Tennessee. It had probably 25 stores in it, 3 traffic lights.
Wow.
And my dad was the superintendent of schools at the age of like 26, so he was very young. And my mother taught basically whatever needed to be taught because it had 1 elementary school and then 1 high school. And the people that lived there either worked in the mill in the town or they lived on the hill, the mountain. And so it was a fascinating place for me to be born and to sort of spend my first, I guess, up until about 2nd grade.
Wow.
I was there.
So, I mean, the school is pretty much your family. That's it.
Yeah, it is.
Excellent. What do you remember most? Can you tell us a little bit about growing up, that first to 2nd grade or up to 2nd grade? Do you have any fond or specific memories that stick out?
Let's see, some silly stories. So my dad had rabbits that he grew in the backyard. Not that we ate the rabbits, they were pets. But they stayed in this cage in the backyard, and I used to love to go back there and pet them. They were really pretty white rabbits, and he would feed them and I would pet them. So that was a memory. The other thing I remember is the backyard was huge because we would play in the backyard, and Dad had built like a picnic table out of concrete. And then when I went back and visited when I was much older, it wasn't huge. It was very small. But to me, it was very big.
So from there, where did you go next? What was stop number 2?
So my dad wanted to work on his doctorate. And so he would get up, I didn't know this, because he would get up many mornings and drive from Rockwood to Knoxville, Tennessee, which was about an hour away, and spend time taking courses because he was working on his doctorate there. And they had a requirement at the University of Tennessee that you had to spend 1 year in residence. So when it got time for him to be writing his paper, his dissertation, we had to move to Knoxville for a year, which we did, and we lived in a very small house. And that was another fascinating year. I learned that pinto beans and collard greens were actually a really good food because we ate it a lot. They were trying to watch the budget, so that was what. And when Dad graduated, we then moved to Atlanta, and he became the assistant superintendent of Atlanta Public Schools.
Oh wow!
So,
okay. Southern girl, southern gal. I don't want to, that terminology. I'm a northerner, and I'm a New York City guy. So, do you know Old Rockets? Do you know the song?
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say, all right. I just wanted to see if you knew the word. I don't, but
I can't do it now, but
right, I'm not gonna ask you
buck
to.
dancing is fun.
But that's it. There that's important. That's a
great answer.
Yeah, that's a big Tennessee question right there. That's a big Tennessee question. So, as you said, so your father was a superintendent, worked throughout the schools. Your mom also a teacher. Now, what was your favorite subject growing up?
I liked all the subjects growing up, probably history when I was younger, but when I got in 7th grade, I had a wonderful math teacher by the name of Mrs. Joyner, and she really made math interesting and fun. So that's when I decided in 7th grade that I wanted to teach math.
That was a turning point right there.
Yeah, I was.
You know, for me, math at 7th grade, that's the moment where it stopped.
You should have had Mrs. Joyner.
I know, I wish I had Mrs. Joyner. So that was a turning point, math in 7th grade.
Yeah.
That was your favorite subject. Now, did that continue to be your favorite subject for on? You said that was a major point. That was it? Was there any other subject that took?
Yeah, so I loved art, and so when I got ready to graduate high school, I was really interested in looking into architecture. And the interesting thing about when I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia Tech, which is where they taught architecture, wasn't really accepting women. It was a men's college, and same thing. Chapel Hill had only begun to start accepting women, so that was true across a lot of schools. And so I decided that mathematics was going to be what I was going to do.
Oh,
so,
great.
Yeah.
So speaking of, where did you go to college, and what did you love most about your college experience?
So my college experience was a little bifurcated. I spent my first 2 years of college at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro, which at the time was predominantly a women's college. They had just begun to start accepting men, and so the class was majority of women, and then there were a few men that were mostly from the town. But I loved being there because it was my freshman and sophomore year, and the story I always tell that's a little funny is my freshman year, my first semester, I had 5 roommates.
Wow.
And the reason I had 5 roommates is the first day I showed up, I had 2 roommates. There were so many students, they crammed 3 of us in a room. And one of the roommates said, I'm leaving tonight to go to Raleigh to party, and I'll be back, at the end of the week. And so within a week, she moved out because we weren't quite the partying type. The other girl I was with had missed her home so badly, and she had a horse at home, that every day at 4 o'clock I would come in from class and she had been crying, missing her horse.
Oh.
So that was a little difficult too. So she found another roommate, and then I moved in with another 2 other women who were a lot of fun, but it was a small space. So finally after the holidays, I went to what they had then was, they called dorm mothers, and said, I'd love to find one roommate. And so after the holidays, I met a woman who was also looking for a roommate, and we've been best friends since.
Wow. So there you have it.
5 was the magic number.
I mean, 5 roommates is something else. But it also shows you we have some success stories.
Yep.
Roommates that are now friends.
Yeah.
For one of my best friends also was a college roommate as well. So just letting you know, if you live in the residence halls, ladies and gentlemen, be kind to your roommates. You might become the president of the university.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And she came to my inauguration.
Oh, see, there it is. There it is.
Yeah.
So, is there anything specific that you loved the most during your experience in college?
So one of the things I do remember about when I was at University of North Carolina at Greensboro is, so I needed to work. So I worked in the cafeteria, and I remember my job was to serve the desserts, which after I served the desserts, I realized I would never eat the desserts because they would put them away every night and try and close them up and then get them out the next day. I'm like, oh, no. But it was a fascinating experience to understand how a big cafeteria was run. So I liked that. After 2 years, my brother started college, and my dad said, you need to come home and live at home and go to school to save some money. So I finished my degrees, my undergraduate and my master's degree up at Georgia State University.
Okay.
So I lived at home then, and that's when I joined a sorority, which was a lot of fun. It was a way to get involved in a community campus.
And you did that, this was at Georgia State?
Yep.
Okay.
So that was my junior and senior year.
Got you. So now, was there an experience from being away from home, living on campus, and then going back to Georgia and going to a commuter school? Was there a major difference that you recognized?
So the only thing, and I think that probably happens to most students who are commuter students, is that as you grow older, you are less and less dependent on your parents, and you like a little more of your freedom. So helping my parents to understand that I'd like to kind of call the shots on some of that was a negotiation.
Okay.
They won most of the time.
That's